Mixing up a dark green now. And just, around the base here. Get some far off little indications of trees and things up in there. Just brushing out the bottom of them. Don't have to have them everywhere, but just in a few spots, which when we put the foreground in, that'll set those back and create a nice effect. Okay, so it's really just a little row of shrubs that we put in. I feel as though this tree needs to come down lower. Just looking at it, it doesn't quite feel right to me. And I think the problem is that it's just that bit too high up. So I'll come into that dark that we had before and I'll just extend it. Right. Not a problem. Extend it out like so. Okay. Having done that, go back into that green that we mixed up for the highlight. It's always going to be darker around the base anyway, but let's just get in a bit of green there like so. Okay, that feels a bit better to me. It was sort of finishing at the same level as the mountain was finishing. It wasn't quite right. I'll just tap in a bit more of these bushes here. Okay. Very good. Now what I want to do is highlight these trees a little bit. So that's going to be more the cadmium yellow. We'll take a little touch of titanium white into it. Get that brush to open up and subtly, right, where the sun will be hitting here. Just catching the top of that tree there. And of course it's going to be catching the top of this one up here as well. Now this is where values come into play, right? This value is, or the background mountain value is too strong, so it should have all been pushed back further, and you learn that as you go along. Most important thing I learned to paint is to be observant of these things. Like I'm looking at that and it's too close in value to what's behind it, and the only way you learn to paint is by doing it, obviously painting, and then being observant enough to know where you could improve what you've done. A little tip for you, always be observing what you've done. Okay, going to go in and get a light value now, which is titanium white, yellow ochre. Okay, going to go back and look at all my tree trunks, and I'm going to pick out the bigger ones and highlight the light side of them. It's going to be careful not to have the light dominate. Okay, that just picks them up a little bit and makes them a little bit happier. Okay, we'll do the same over on this side. Now then, come in here with some bushes in the bottom here. Like so. Now, I have to decide where we're going to put our old gate, which I think we'll put right there. Okay, so I'm going into burnt sienna and our dark. Cut off some paint on the palette knife, like so, and what I'll do is I'll put the gate right here. So this is the main support post for the gate. You can have another one right here. Okay, you need plenty of paint. Got to be careful that you don't miss spots. Well, you can actually miss spots because you want it to be a little bit on the rustic sort of side. You don't want a perfect post, so they're not going to look right, especially in an Australian sort of outback scene. Okay, now we want to have some more posts in here to sort of support this whole idea. Put them a little bit hickledy-pickledy. That's an Australian term, hickledy-pickledy, I think. Actually, it may not be, but it sounds like something my grandmother would have said. Okay. We need to have a supporting post right there. Supporting post on this one. Okay. All looking a little bit the worse for wear. Okay, let's get a few more in here. We maybe even put one that's just given up the ghost altogether, laying down like so. Okay. Now with the actual gate, come back into my liner brush and we'll just run a gate in using plenty of paint here. It's going to be one of those old-fashioned sort of wire gates that you'll find out on land, and a lot of Australians will be familiar with. Like so. It's obviously going to be attached on a couple of hinges there. Might just give that one a little bit more oomph. Extend the bottoms of these out a little bit. That one there, as I said, has given up the ghost completely. Okay, so I'll go into my liner brush here. Get a little bit more of that colour. And this liner brush is just about ready to go to God. Getting a few wire lines like so across it. Maybe a couple like so. Okay. Now, if we're going to have fields like this, and we've got a gate, it's obviously a farm of some description, so you could always run in, more fence posts along the back there. Don't have to run them all the way across. Having some in through there, get some highlight onto that. Okay, just a few little details like that we can put out in the back. But we'll worry about that in a moment. I was just demonstrating that to you. For now, I think we need to just concentrate on getting the highlights onto these, onto the gate and fence here. So I've just mixed up some burnt sienna and some titanium white. We want this gate, or these old posts, to be fairly rustic looking, so you don't want to blend the paint in too much or get it on too thick. What I mean by that is losing too much of the underpaint of it. You don't want those two colours to sort of just blend into each other. Make it sort of a bit rustic looking. Okay, probably got a little bit too much light into that one and not enough into these ones, so I'll just come back in with a little bit more white there. Okay, this one here laying down. Okay, good. Now we need to have a bit more highlight on the on this actual gate here. But don't lose that dark, because it's quite a lot of value behind it in the field there. If you go too light, then the gate will just disappear. And it doesn't need to be everywhere either. Okay, getting there. I think I'm going to get a little bit of red. Mix that in to here. I think that's picked it up a little bit, makes it a bit more interesting. Why would there be red, you're asking? Well, a bit of rust in the old metal gate. Those hinges there. They're going to be rusty as can be. Not too red, but just a little touch of the red there. And we'll get a little bit of white in there as well. Getting into my thinner bucket there, so it's nice and loose, and let's just run a bit of light on there. Okay, so standing back from that gate now, it's starting to look like it's been there forever and a day, which is what we want. Back into our darks now, and let's just put in some rough indications here of maybe it's barbed wire, maybe it's their posts, who knows. Not always for us to know these things, is it? But again, you want to have it a little bit higgledy-piggledy like I'm doing. Don't make it all neat and uniform. Okay. You can even have some of these pails that are just, running sort of into the ground there. And one that's sort of going up that way. Starts to create a bit of a rustic sort of look and feel to it there now, which is what we were hoping to achieve. Wipe that palette knife off now. And I'll just get some lighter value, not white, with white in it obviously, but just to touch in a few spots there. So that little bit of light there really picks it up. There's a couple of spots here which I feel I don't have enough highlight on. But we want to be careful not to lose that dark as well. So I like the dark of the fence and the gate against the back fields there. Now, probably I've done this in the wrong order, which I tend to do. I was racing ahead to what I thought would be the interesting part, which is the gate and so on. And I've not really done much with our middle distance background area here. So that's a mistake. I'm more than happy to admit my mistakes. And that's a reasonable size mistake, is that I've now got to try and just work into some of this background area here. Try and create something a little bit more interesting than what it is right there now. So I'll get a little bit of colour variety in here, some grasses. Like so. Okay, I'll put a little bit of a path in there as well, I think. So we'll go with some yellow ochre, a bit of titanium white into the yellow ochre. And we'll just give the indication that there's a bit of a path happening through here. Obviously up to the gate, that makes sense, doesn't it? Need to go a bit stronger in colour there, in value. It's a little bit too dark. Oh, sorry, it's a little bit too light, obviously. So I'll pick up some burnt sienna. I'll just work it in. Is in front here, we'll work the gate in here. Okay, about there. So I'm going to need some more yellow ochre, so bear with me for 1 second. Okay, take our palette knife, get some of this yellow ochre happening. Okay, I'm going for a sort of a rustic look in the path here. Don't want to make it too neat, because this really is, you know, it's not like it's a road. This is a path that a farmer might bring a four-wheel drive down occasionally, you know.